So we're going to talk about making your own baby apple puree or applesauce if you have some older toddlers in the house. What you'll want to start off with is a sweeter variety of apple. I'm a huge fan of Gala, Hunnycrust, or even Red Delicious comes out very beautifully. Depending on, the quantity you're making, if you're doing just a few small servings, I tend to prefer to leave the peel on, because about 90% of an apple's nutritional content will be in the peel. So if you peel it, you're removing so many beneficial nutrients for your child. So one of the big things that you want to focus on when you're slicing in order to steam the apples is to try to uniformly slice them so they cook evenly. So, every chunk will be slightly different, but if they're more or less the same size, then they will cook evenly once they're in the steamer. So apples are really fantastic. They're one of the most high sources of fiber that you can find for children. So if you do have a child that's having constipation issues, this is a really great food to offer them to keep the system moving along, so to speak. So we have 3 apples sliced up here that we're going to put into the steam basket. And the reason that I prefer to steam is that it will retain the most amount of nutrients for your child versus roasting or boiling. So we'll add these apples to our steamer. And then we're going to give it about 4 to 5 minutes until it's fork tender. All right, so now that our apples have been steaming about 4 to 5 minutes, depending on how small or large you slice them, you just want to make sure they're nice and fork tender before you pull them out. So I use a slotted spoon and a regular just table fork to test the softness. Good to go. So now that they're fork tender, we'll add them to the high-speed food processor or blender. Come on over here. And depending on the apple, varietals like a Red Delicious are probably going to come out a little bit waterier, so you want to strain off any excess water. These are Gala, so they tend to have a little less water in them, so we'll not have an issue with excess water. When you are preparing purees, I tend to start on the thicker side, so you want to take out a lot of the extra water because it's always much easier to thin them down than it is to thicken them back up. And as your baby grows, they'll tend to prefer the thicker as opposed to the thin. So we'll just flip on the blender and blend about 20-30 seconds. All right, so now that 20-30 seconds has gone by, we're down to a nice smooth consistency, and just portion it out into your serving dish. And you're ready to go. One of my favorite things, especially during colder winter months, is to add a little bit of cinnamon. I think it's great to introduce babies to spices. The earlier the better. And apples are really fantastic puree that you can add cinnamon to.